An Anti-War Guide 2. Chapter 1. Anti-War 1. Why be violent? Human nature tends more towards selfishness than goodness, but even still we don't have to be violent towards others to get what we want. The motive of most wars is power and greed. Most violence is for power and greed. Some isn't. Domestic violence is anger at your loved ones. Street violence is often machismo and saving face. There is a front reason for wars, as in fighting for freedom. There is an ulterior motive, as in elitists making money selling weapons, food, etc., plus conquering a land to exploit its resources. The way to end violence is to get the players together in the same room. Show them they are not that different. Convince them they are destroying the country. Offer them both political and economic power. Get them to agree to a truce. Collect the weapons and destroy them. Quickly set up schooling, job training, jobs, and industries, because if they're making money, they're fine, but idle hands will lead to violence again. Get rid of the idea that violence is cool. Quietly get rid of violent Hollywood movies. Change society's mindset to cooperation. Military madness. To me, war is something a bunch of fat cats somewhere create to advance their own agendas in the guise of goodness, righteousness, and freedom, and send off the plebeians to do the dirty work and die for it, most of whom are brainwashed enough to believe in the cause, however stupid it might be, while the fat cats sit smugly in their nice offices insulated from it all. In the past, there were a few ruthless dictators who had to be reined in, but nowadays, with all the interconnectedness between the nations of the world, if all the nations get together and give the silent treatment to dissenting nations, they will suffer after a while. Politically speaking, it simply makes better sense to be friends than foes. America has the most militaristic government on the planet, while they praise God because, according to the government's propaganda machine, they're supposedly the one righteous, just, God-fearing nation in the world on the side of good. The money the government spends on the military in America would probably cover the college education of every citizen who wants to go, and the medical treatment for all children under 18 and then some, but they have to waste it to play their war games for some illusory threat that doesn't exist, because anybody that knows anything knows that regardless of how disarmed America were to get in a hypothetical situation, they've got the infrastructure in place to mobilize very quickly should someone attack, which is about as likely as a Muslim terrorist becoming a Christian and renouncing Allah. There will always be a few domestic and political terrorists around, that's just the way it is. You can't account for that X factor of individuals who decide to do spontaneous acts of violence against others without becoming a shut-down police state. Building up the military to ridiculous lengths can't stop them. A plane can fly in from anywhere under the radar, a ship or submarine can dock anywhere on both coasts. Anybody can plant a bomb in thousands of unguarded public places. There's always an element of risk from unknown factors, but sometimes the reverse stance works better. Be nice to your enemy. Give him a chance to see the error of his ways. Soften up the tough guy image and people might think twice about vilifying you. Carrying a big stick just raises animosity against you. Focusing on world trade and exchanging technology sounds like a more brotherly way to live. I concede it might not work in all cases. Identify the few dictators/nutcases, target them and leave everybody else alone, kind of like you're looking for a handful of criminals. It's just that in this case they're political criminals. Could it be that all this military build-up has a hidden agenda, lining the pockets of all those bigwigs who okay it from the government side when they get their kickbacks from the corporations who make all this stuff for them? Personal selfishness is what really makes the world go round, not some illusory threat from a couple of disheveled, bearded guys spewing off some Muslim gibberish. People are out to protect their own personal interests as opposed to national interests, as has always been the case. America has changed from world good guy at the end of World War II to incur a lot of wrath these days from all over the world as bullies. Anti-American sentiment has reached epidemic proportions, and I believe it's because nobody wants one nation with an imperialistic king holding of all the power. The United Nations was created to give everybody in the world a fair voice, not just let a few nations dominate everything. It's really a stooge of the real leader, the Bank for International Settlements, which controls the world's money supply and creates it out of nothing. A strong military presence ensures hate by a lot of people all over the world. If we could have only one platform, it should be education over militarization. Almost no politician is anti-military. They made it seem unpatriotic, but it's really about the money. The military creates jobs almost everywhere. Many companies sell stuff to the military. Look at food alone, anywhere there is a military base. The young soldiers go to the bars and restaurants. This concept is just a little too sensible for the war industry of America, but you're the people. The suits in Washington jam stuff down our throats with their phony spin doctors. You can take your country back because in the totality of it, there are several hundred elitists and billions of people. Ronald Bernard, the former Satanist banker, said about 8,500 people control the world through the money supply. He said you can nullify them because at heart they're all scared of the people waking up and destroying their system. You could have the most progressive nation around with good social programs for everybody if you got off this military kick and that phony drug war hype to build up the law enforcement agencies into police dictatorships who pretty well do what they want regardless of the law. All the money that's wasted on the military and the phony drug war, which is geared to stop people from using recreational substances, an activity an individual willingly does for his or her own pleasure without infringing on the rights of others, could make America one of the most socially advanced countries in the world if they were to funnel these funds into education and healthcare. The more you anger people by fighting them, the more you invite terrorism. Why doesn't the UN outlaw the production of military weapons? It takes big major companies to build guns, wars, bombs, rocket launchers, etc. Then they need the logistics to send them to foreign lands. United States is the #1 producer of military weapons, Britain is number 5. A simple way to stop the bloodshed is simply to order the companies they either change what they produce, to go from swords to plowshares so to speak, or to destroy the means of production by law. Wherever money is involved, it doesn't matter what evil it causes, it will be hard to stop people. The people who create nuclear bombs will say that they are protecting democracy, but they are really wreaking havoc on the planet. You have to give them other jobs like building houses for the homeless, building new roads, creating new crops, etc. They can't do it though. It's really all about money. They don't care that a bunch of poor, innocent people get killed in the process. The people at the top make money from war and keep control of the human race this way. Chapter 2. Anti-War 2. War takes away from helping people. War is social injustice because it takes energy away from helping people while putting it into destruction. unicef.org/mdg/childmortality.html:. About 29,000 children under the age of 5/21 each minute die every day, mainly from preventable causes. More than 70% of almost 11 million child deaths every year are attributable to 6 causes: diarrhea, malaria, neonatal infection, pneumonia, preterm delivery, or lack of oxygen at birth. And the majority are preventable. Some of the deaths occur from illnesses like measles, malaria, or tetanus. Others result indirectly from marginalization, conflict, and HIV/AIDS. Malnutrition and the lack of safe water and sanitation contribute to half of all these children's deaths. We could easily end all this if we were a good human race. But we're not. I recently heard a self-proclaimed Christian say we had to drop the bombs at Hiroshima and Nagasaki. William First Chen said we have to fight those evil Muslims. He said they want worldwide jihad, but he never breathed a word that they want the imperialist invaders with their businesses and banks out of their lands. Start there. Get out where they don't want you. Maybe then they will leave you alone. Get your military out of foreign lands before you can start being self-righteous. Do war movies and violence on TV make us warlike? People try to say that watching war movies and violence on TV has no effect on us as individuals or as a society. They say you have to be messed up to start with to do violent, evil things. I read this in silly academic articles where they claim to do studies that yielded these results. I don't buy into that academic stuff. They lie as much as anybody. What about video games? You sit there killing a bunch of people on a screen. I saw the video of the American military guys in the chopper who see a guy with a camera peep around a corner through a night vision lens. The highest ranking guy said it was a gun even though it was obviously a camera. He ordered the subordinate to engage. He did. They ended up killing 2 AP reporters and several other guys. It looked no different than shooting at targets in a video game. They were trigger happy. I remember a news piece around 1984 when the movie Rambo came out. They showed some Filipino radicals fighting the government. They had a picture of Rambo hanging up in their little shack. Military officers and military equipment manufacturers love all that violence in pop culture entertainment. It's a holistic thing. You combine war movies, crime TV shows, violent comics, professional wrestling, violent sports, video games and an imperialistic military-industrial complex and they all complement each other. I think they're trying to sell the hero idea. Think of the old Gary Cooper movie from 1941 Sergeant York about a sharpshooting pacifist country boy who goes into war and captures a German squad single-handedly. It's totally ridiculous but supposedly based on a true story. Some hick Christian hillbilly who can't even tie his shoes goes from conscientious objector to violent hero, a good old American national role model. It was a slick way to sell violence. They even had a little bit about the officer using some quotes from the Bible to defend your land. This movie was about getting the country boys to want to be soldier heroes and risk death for the red, white and blue, all engineered by corporate heads salivating at the thought of making a lot of money from the upcoming war. The movie was made and released in 1941, before the Pearl Harbor attack on December 6, 1941. I saw a lot of military films on Turner Movie Classics that made it seem like being in the military was fun, kinda like a big social scene just waiting for you. A lot of 1950s military films had a theme of finding love in the military. There was one where there was a bunch of women in a military unit, smartly dressed, looking good as they marched. They all found love at the end, at least the 3 main characters did. It was about joining the military to find love. They made it look like fun because half the movie was about them at social functions dancing around, talking and drinking like a bunch of friends. That's not realistic. Top Gun from 1985 was made with the help of the American military. I remember when I was a kid in the 1960s. We used to play war and draw pictures. The hero thing was pounded into us. Be a effin' hero. Be a sucker. We willing to fight recklessly. They call it courage. I call it stupid. Is it a big conspiracy to suck us all into a war culture? A lot of people make money off war and violence. Everybody feeds off everybody else in this arena. A bunch of suckers die in any military action the American government does, but life goes on. We bury them. A few people get rich. A lot of people earn a living from our violent culture. It will not end unless there is a radical shift in society away from violence and pro-military to peace and tolerance. A lot of people have to have the guts to say enough is enough. No more silly violent films. Get rid of professional wrestling and violent video games. Get rid of the MMA. We could live in a peaceful world where people don't look for violent stuff to entertain them, but it would take a big switch in the cultural attitude. Can you imagine getting rid of football and replacing it with soccer? War, Inc. War to make money while soldiers die. We make war to make profits. It's a rich man's war and a poor man's fight. When it's wartime for the troops, it's showtime for the elite. The banks make loans to many businesses during wartime so they can vamp up production to sell product to the military, to soldiers, etc. The banks make money on the compound interest of the loans. Armament makers makes a bundle. Big oil companies fuel the ships, planes, tanks, trucks, etc. Soldiers die, but the company owners, military generals, who never fight on the battlefield, and politicians are all sitting pretty, making money. The war will end and be forgotten, but these elitists will all be richer for it. Any military company that has a big contract with the US military probably has 100 or more small companies that it subcontracts work to. Most politicians have military manufacturing companies in their district that employ a lot of people. They almost have to be pro-military in order to get that money and those jobs so that they get those military votes in the next election. It's called the Military-Industrial Congressional Complex, and it's so huge that it's in almost every federal congressional and senatorial district in the United States. Politicians try very hard to get federal money to be given to the military companies in their district for some new project or some contract. A recent, detailed study by the Eisenhower Research Project at Brown University revealed that the war on terror has cost the U.S. economy, so far, from $3.7 trillion, the most conservative estimate, to $4.4 trillion, the moderate estimate. Then there are interest payments on these costs, another $1 trillion. That makes the total cost of the war on terror to be, at least, a staggering $5.4 trillion. And that does not include, as the report mentions, additional macroeconomic consequences of war spending, or a promised, and undelivered, $5.3 billion reconstruction aid for Afghanistan. Who's profiting from this bonanza? That's easy, U.S. military contractors and a global banking/financial elite. The notion that the U.S. government would spend $10 billion a month just to chase a few Al-Qaeda types in the Hindu Kush is nonsense. Pepe Escobar. War takes the money from the American people and puts it into the hands of arms manufacturers, war profiteers, and private armies. 50% of our discretionary spending goes for the Pentagon. A massive transfer of wealth into the hands of a few while the American people lack sufficient jobs, health care, housing, retirement security. Congressman Dennis Kucinich. When mainstream media complains about the war, they do so carefully, because too many people in this country benefit in one way or another from the American warfare welfare state. To do the right thing at the national level will cost the government, Republicans and Democrats, credibility. Why did we go? Why didn't we come home sooner? And budget justification, no war on terror through occupation and aggression, no need for DHS, or a $500 billion a year Pentagon budget. To do the right thing will cost, in the short term, actual jobs in districts who get tax dollars for products relating to maintenance and expansion of our global military empire. Karen Kwiatkowski. People and politicians think that the military and wars create jobs and prosperity. There is an easy way to end this. Simply make up a plan to turn swords into plowshares. Tell the CIA they're done. Everybody come home, but they don't have to lose their jobs. Order them to create the United States World Online University to offer online education to foreign students all over the world and build a campus so they can come to the US to finish their degrees. Order the military to shut down except for a small domestic force and create new departments like Department of New Roads, Department of Infrastructure Development, Department of New Inventions, create new products then create companies for them, Department of Free Energy, Department of New Housing, Department of New Industry. Why the war mentality fails the economy. People say that the military and war create jobs, and they do, and we're all entrenched in this system now. The city I live in, Halifax, NS Canada, has a naval base that employs 15,000 military personnel, civilian personnel, and hundreds of suppliers who sell them all kinds of stuff, which extends all the way to taxis, bars, pizza joints and hookers. But the problem is that it's all dead, useless money that comes from one source, the government, and creates nothing useful and productive for society that in itself creates jobs. There are still lots of homeless people at the homeless shelter half a mile away. If we take the money we spend on the military and use it to build a factory, a farm, or new infrastructure that produces something, it creates a multiplier effect. When someone produces something then sells it to the next guy, so now they just made some money, so they buy something from somebody else. This seller now has more money. He buys something and chain goes on. With the military, it's just government spending into an empty black hole that doesn't do anything to create any useful products, improve the economy or make money. Halliburton, KBR, United Defense, the Carlyle Group, Blackwater, and the American oil companies make money selling to the military, but it's just that little club, the American military and their military contractor friends getting rich in their closed system. They're not producing anything for the whole society or selling anything to the whole society. They make money off violence and death, a phony Cold War and war against terrorism. Low-ranking military personnel are the fodder for the war machine. They get killed, get PTSD, get disabled, some live homeless, become drug addicts, kill themselves, get divorced, etc. They use depleted uranium bombs and artillery shells. Many soldiers get cancer because of exposure to this material. Smedley Butler said, "The bankers collected their profits, but the soldier pays the biggest part of the bill." If you don't believe this, visit the American cemeteries on the battlefields abroad or visit any of the veterans' hospitals in the United States.